It's a new year, hence new Pat McGrath releases that we need to talk about. My Star Wars collection items finally came in. Excuse me, I should correct myself. My Star Wars order did not come in. The 2 quints that I ordered from the collection came in. I received a Sith Seduction and the Divine Droid quad, which I had placed an order for. The items that I'm missing are the little pot eyeshadow that I don't remember the name of. It's the silvery gray one. And I had also ordered myself a backup of statuesque, which not only didn't arrive, but it will also not be coming in. I got refunded for it. Honestly, I had made it a point to not rant about Pat McGrath's shipping anymore because I'm tired hearing my own voice complaining about it. But here we are in the year 2023 still complaining about Pat McGrath's abysmal shipping. I ordered the pieces that I was interested in from this collection literally the few minutes after it launched because I had a free day, I didn't really have anything to do, and nothing better than stalking Mama Pat's website when a new launch, especially a Star Wars launch, is coming through. And I knew I had to be quick because these items were not going to stay in stock for too long. And I was so happy that I ordered everything, and I ordered with express shipping because I had good hopes that since she released this mid-December, I would still be able to get it, you know, at least before the new year. Lo and behold, I once again duped myself and paid 17 euros for express shipping that I never received. And the worst part is that this time they're not even replying to my messages for a refund, because I requested a refund, didn't hear back, requested the refund again, haven't heard anything. Am I getting a refund? I don't know. Am I getting the pot eyeshadow? No idea. I don't think so, because that thing is sold out. I don't know whether it's restocking, I don't know whether they have any intentions of shipping it out. I have not received a refund notification, so I assume they are planning on at some point sending it out, but who's to say? And you know what the really sad part is? Like, my order didn't ship on time. I got refunded for an item that I'm pretty sure was probably still in stock, and if they had shipped everything in a timely manner, in the expedited way that I had paid for, it would probably still have been in stock. Then one of the items was not shipped out seemingly from the shipping notification because it was once again notification which said that I would be getting a part of my order, and I was not fazed by any of it. I didn't even bat an eyelash. I'm so deeply used to and expect on a deeper level that things are going to go wrong that I'm not even like surprised, shocked. We're way past that point. That ship has sailed, but I'm not even surprised anymore. But you know what I'm pissed about? I've been reading like people here and there getting doubles of palettes, getting extra mothership palettes. One of my friends here got an extra blush palette with her holiday order. Why am I never getting extra items in my orders, you know? I have statistically made probably more orders than the average Pat McGrath customer. You would think that that increases exponentially the chance that I'm going to get extra things in my order, and you know, cosmically, you know, in the grand scheme of things in the universe, considering the amount of anguish I've had to survive by her abysmal shipping service, you would think the universe owes me an extra palette. It would have been really nice if they had thrown in like an extra golden one, because then I would have the complete trio. But you know, no, not only did they not add extra things, I didn't even get the ones that I ordered. Anyway, shipping rant over. Also, if you've never been around my channel before and you would like to hear my thoughts on the overall Star Wars release and the situation with all the stickers on the palettes, then I will refer you to a video that I filmed, like a get ready with me style video that I filmed about 2 weeks ago talking about this release, because I feel like there's no way I'm going to be repeating myself today. We still have so much to do with this video. I just kind of want to get into the makeup so that we can talk about something happy and cheerful. You may have noticed that I sound a little bit and that's because I'm still a little bit under the weather, because of course I got some sort of a bug, probably the flu, over New Year's, and I've been suffering ever since, but I don't want to talk about it, so let's focus on the makeup. Alright, did any of you expect things to be coming out of your boxes? Because I did not. I did see on Alicia's video for the first time that Darth Vader is literally coming out of my eyeshadow palette. I feel slightly intimidated, but at the same time kind of digging it. So the Sith Seduction palette, so the one that, you know, represents the dark side of the Force, has little Darth Vader coming out of it, really cool. And the R2-D2 one is also really cool. It has like the little part of R2-D2 coming here also from the side. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the golden one has anything coming out of it, right? Anyway, I think I'm going to start swatching the R2-D2 palette, the Divine Droid one, because I'm actually really excited to swatch that allegedly lime green looking eyeshadow in there. So these come in the same format as her holiday quints. I've actually been really pleasantly surprised by these holiday quints. I didn't really expect to think much of them, but I fell in love, like head over heels in love with Bronze Bliss. So as soon as she announced these, I hoped that they would be in the same formula, and I was just really excited to have those little like bundles of joy, as I call them. I call these little quints bundles of joy because they're like super tiny, but they're filled with, you know, joyous sparkly powder. So the one with R2-D2 has this relatively colorful eyeshadow story with a purple, a magenta, this aqua blue, this like bronzy browny shade, and this lime green. Just to throw in case you weren't aware, neither this one nor Sith Seduction actually have any mattes in them. So the only eyeshadow palette in this collection, like the Quint collection, that has mattes in it, I think is only one matte, and that's in the golden one, so the C3PO Quint, which I don't have. But now let's not waste any more time and start swatching these eyeshadows. I'm going to start from the direction of the lime green, because that's the shade I'm the most excited about. I'll be completely honest with you, shades 1 through 3 are the ones that I'm the most interested in. Okay, dipping my fingers into the lime green, it is very consistent with the formula that is in Bronze Bliss, which is making me feel very, very happy. It's this like very creamy, squishy goodness. So here we have the first 3 shades, and oh my gosh, this actually looks like a lime green. If I wasn't so low on energy, I would be screaming with joy right now. This is an actual lime green. Gorgeous. I don't know the names of any of these eyeshadows. I don't know that you care, but you know, we can take a quick look-see. We've got Astro Lime, Bronze Circuit, and Secret Blueprint. Actually really like the look of this neutral shade as well. It looks like such a beautiful, like sort of like greenish tinged brown. Does that look like to you as well? I'm quite excited about it. Now let's watch the less exciting part of this palette, which still looks gorgeous, by the way. Just because I'm not into the colors doesn't mean that they're not absolutely gorgeous. If you are into these shades, oh, this is interesting. This has a bit of like a deep raspberry tone going on. Interesting. And this purple looks extremely rich on my finger, and is translating very rich also as a swatch, and is reminding me quite a lot of the purple that is in her Nocturnal Nirvana quad. It has like the same kind of depth. So maybe if you don't have that Nocturnal Nirvana quad, but you always wanted to have that purple, this might be a good dupe for that actually. And together with the bluish shade, you're getting a little bit of the same vibes. I am of course also very curious about the shine status, the glitter sparkle status of these eyeshadows. So I have my phone here shining an artificial light so that you can see the sparkle level. I feel like the last 2 eyeshadows are actually not super sparkly, especially that raspberry doesn't really strike me as a very glittery shade. The purple one has fine shimmer in it. To me, the sparkliest one is actually the neutral. Okay, now let's transition to the dark side, or perhaps some of us have been dark dwellers all along. You know what? I was like super excited for this quint until one of you, rightfully so, pointed out that this palette looks like a mini version of the Midnight Sun palette. Let me remove this protector thing over here, because I mean, you were correct, and now that I'm holding it in my hands, man, does this look like an edited version of the Midnight Sun palette, but in a different formula. Without further ado, let's swatch this, because I'm just very, very curious how these are going to feel like. And I'm going to start Now it's very hard to say, because if I say the neutral, it could be either way, because on both sides you have neutral shades. I'm going to start with this like sort of like neutral taupe shade that's closer to the purple shade, and we're going to go from there. That copper shade feels like cream on crack. It's amazing. Oh my gosh. I don't know that I've ever touched anything like this. Even Lunar Luxury from the Bronze Bliss doesn't quite feel like this one. This one is like in a league of its own. These are Imperial, Destiny, no, Dark Destiny, and Mustafar Heat. Mustafar Heat is the coppery shade. Wow. Okay. That purple shade, also from swatches that I've seen from other people, looks like it might be a little bit of a problem child, because it looks a little bit chunkier also in the pan, and when you swatch it, it swatches quite unevenly. In contrast, in stark contrast, if I may say so myself, to that copper shade, the Mustafar Heat, which just goes on forever and ever. Like, even if you don't have anything left on your finger, it keeps going. I don't know how. This shade is quite remarkable, and it basically looks like lava. And I'm actually quite excited about the olive green and that taupey neutral that's positioned next to it. Wow, at least on the swatch, the olive green actually looks more olive green and more sparkly than the one in Midnight Sun. And swatched really beautifully. And this is the little taupey neutral moment. Okay, I'm doing a bit of private investigation here, because if I shine on artificial light and I look in the viewfinder, I can't really see it that well. But this quint is quite much, like, I think, sparklier compared to the Divine Droid one. It's just very sultry and very sparkly. Let me try to show you. I've zoomed in, let's do the demo part of this video. I'm going to start with the Divine Droid quint, because I actually know what I want to do with it. I still don't actually know what I want to do with the Sith Seduction one. So I'm going to tell you which eyeshadows we're going to use today. I think to no one's shock and surprise, I'm going to use these three shades over here, because I'm really the most excited for them. I'd like to put this one in the outer portion of my lid, blend it into the crease, and then I want to put this beautiful lime green in the inner portion of my lid and inner corner, blend it a little bit together with the dark shade. Then I'm going to put a little bit of this dark shade on my lower lashes, and I'm going to put a little accent of this blue shade here on the lower lash line. And I'm going to take the Bronze Circuit shade, which I'm really excited about, because it looks really beautiful. And I'm going to start applying that quite generously here on the outer 1/3 of my lids. And I'm going to pack, and after that I'm going to clean off my brush on a microfiber cloth. And I'm going to start blending it upwards in the crease. Obviously, if you're not a fan of working with these kind of textures in your crease, you have to pull out a bronzer or something else that's matte to work through your crease, but I don't particularly mind. This shade is really pretty. Okay, let's say a few words about this shade. I look a bit stupid now with like half a done eyelid, but oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. It has a little bit of a darkened base to it, and that greenish bronze tinge as an overlay, and that creates so much dimension. This would make for a killer, like smoky one and done eyeshadow. It is so pretty. I cleaned off my Worker Pro, and now I'm going to go into the lime green shade. And this lime green shade reminds me so much of one of the first like loose indie eyeshadows I ever fell in love with, the shade Dirty Limerick from Darling Girl Cosmetics. I had to look up what limerick means after that eyeshadow entered my life. Whew! That is very lime green. Now I'm going to go back into the Bronze Circuit shade, apply a little bit of that here in the outer corner, and then apply the tiniest bit of that blue as a lower lash line accent, just to try it out. Going in with the blue shade now. That's going to make such a beautiful like accent as an inner corner highlight. This really reminds me of the blue shade in Nocturnal Nirvana, actually. But like not the same texture, obviously. The one in Nocturnal Nirvana is a baked shade, but the tone is really similar. It's like that very light aqua blue. I'm going to look a little bit ridiculous while we finish this eye because I'm not going to put mascara now, but so far I loved all the 3 shades that I used from this quint, and I'm so happy that I got it. A lot of them are like really unique eyeshadows for Pat McGrath's collection. Alright, and let's now jump into the Sith Seduction quint, where I'll be honest with you, I initially thought I'm going to probably do something with this shade and with this shade. Before I swatched the eyeshadows, I was completely sure that I'm not interested in using this shade because it's just, you know, your standard Pat Copper, but it has such a remarkable texture that I have to try it on my eyes. Mama. Hey, Liv. The child required a bit of assistance and I forgot where I was. I think we were going to do with the Sith Seduction quint, and I've decided what I'm going to do. I would like to try both this shade and this shade, so I'm going to do this one outer corner, this one on the inner portion of the lids. Then I'm going to put the lighter one sort of like in between as like a little like highlight moment. And then on my lower lash line, I'm just going to go for the green one. I don't think I'm going to dip into Problem Child today. Going into this olive green shade, and I just realized the olive green together with that lime green from Divine Droid is going to look sick. Don't you think? Unsure what she wants to do exactly. This eyeshadow applied really beautifully, and from what I can tell from like memory of using the similar type shade in Midnight Sun, the shade in Midnight Sun is a little bit drier and it's not as sparkly. So I think this one is kind of like a step up from the shade in Midnight Sun. I'm going to now go into that crazy copper shade, Mustafar Heat, and I'm going to apply that on the inner portion of my lids. Wow. This eyeshadow is hot as lava. You need to touch this shade to really understand what I mean when I say that the texture of this shadow is crazy. Okay, I'm using my finger because I just really wanted to touch it one more time. It's so special. And now I realized what the texture of this eyeshadow reminds me of. This eyeshadow reminds me of the multichrome VR shade in Utopian Dream, the one that's not a baked shade. That one has the exact same like crazy silky creamy texture to it. Now I want to have the transition between the 2 shades be a little bit less crazy, so I'm going to take this neutral type shade and I'm going to apply just the tiniest bit of that here, right at the border between the 2 shades, and like kind of start blending everything together so that it looks a bit more seamless. I'm going back into this shade using my little brush here, and I'm going to apply this as an inner corner highlight. Although I think it's going to be too dark. Yeah, it's too dark for me to be an inner corner highlight. This is like a champagne, like a pink champagne kind of shade. Taking the olive green shade to quickly finish off the lower lashes, and then I'm going to apply a bit of mascara because I feel like I look crazy without it. And then I will be back to do a little bit of comparison swatching. Okay, let me show you both looks also with a bit of artificial lighting on them. So here are the 2 final looks. On this side we've got the Divine Droid. And on the other side we've got Sith Seduction. I'm looking at myself in the viewfinder and I look completely crazy. I realize that wearing these looks at the same time is, you know, a little bit nonsensical, but I really wanted to try out both palettes so that I can give you thoughts on both palettes. In terms of like performance and eyeshadow quality and color stories, honestly both of these are really beautiful. I continue to be a supporter of this format. I think the formula that she has put in here is truly really special, and it's getting pretty close to her like baked special shades without them truly being the baked formula. Nothing comes close to the baked formula, but these are as good as it gets in terms of being very impactful, very glittery, and very like wow provoking. Out of the two color stories, I will be completely honest with you, I actually prefer the Divine Droid one, just because it's more unique even like within Pat McGrath's collection. I think these three colors are so pretty, and we have nothing quite like them in any of the other like Pat McGrath palettes maybe. So going into Nocturnal Nirvana Quad now, because I want to swatch the purple and the blue shades. So here we've got the Nocturnal Nirvana Quad, and here is the Divine Droid, and I think you can clearly tell that there's a bit of a similar-ish vibe going on with obviously this is much more of a gold, whereas here we have this lime green, but the bluish shade and the purple shade are actually very similar vibes. So I'm going to swatch these next to each other. Oh, they're actually not that similar to each other. This is the one from Divine Droid, and here is Nocturnal Nirvana. And the one from Nocturnal Nirvana, first of all, without a doubt has a superior texture, because I will always and forever prefer the baked shades. But it is also a little bit like deeper and more green, I feel like, in comparison to the one from Divine Droid. Alright, here we've got Divine Droid, and here we've got Nocturnal Nirvana. Oh, you can clearly see those like stronger green tones coming through here compared to here. This is also more sparkly, of course, so yeah, they are similar-ish, but not quite the same shade. And they're probably also going to make a really good match if I layer them together. So this is the purple from Divine Droid, and this is the purple from Nocturnal Nirvana. The one from the new quad is much smoother, much creamier, whereas the baked shade is a little bit drier in texture. It's always been quite dry in texture, at least in my quad. Never really been a problem for application or anything, but it's just that it feels drier to the touch compared to the one in the new quad, in the new quint, excuse me. So here we have the new quint, which also has, I feel like, a little bit of like a pinkish like reflect going on to it. And similarly, the one from Nocturnal Nirvana also I think has some purpley and pinky sparkles to it. Okay, call me crazy, but I feel like these two shades are actually quite similar to each other. This one maybe has a bit more like brighter pinky purple sparkles, but these two are quite similar to each other, with this one being just a tiny bit smokier. So this bronzy greenish tinged shade over here, I want to compare that to the bronze shade that was featured in the Bronze Bliss quad, because like just visually looking at them, I feel like they look a little bit similar, but the one in the new quad is a little bit more green. Because the one in the new quint also has a little tinge of green in there, I want to compare it to this pigment that I purchased recently from the Ultra Suede Brown kit, which is also called the Ultra Suede Brown pigment. So this here is the one from Divine Droid. Here we have the bronzy shade from Bronze Bliss, which I feel like is a little bit like more red in tone. And here is the pigment that I mentioned from that Ultra Suede Brown kit, which I think in terms of its tone, not in terms of its texture or the sparkle, is pretty similar. So let's start off with swatching the shade from the new quint, Bronze Bliss quint, and here I'm going to swatch the shade from the Ultra Suede Brown. I think this shadow, if we were just to compare the undertone of this shade without like the sparkly goldeny overlay, it would have the exact same base tone, I think, as the eyeshadow from the Ultra Suede Brown kit. But because of that sparkle, it's looking just slightly different and like less brown compared to this one. It just leans a little bit more like a goldy tone. This one is the most different because it has a very strong like reddish tone to it. Like the base tone has a bit of red in it. but they are all three really beautiful eyeshadows, and I really love this neutral shade in the Divine Droid quint. Alright you guys, my energy levels are starting to drop quite dramatically and I'm starting to lose my cool, so let's go over a couple of quick comparison swatches with the Midnight Sun palette over here. There's one comparison swatch I actually still want to do with Divine Droid. I want to compare this gold over here because it's looking a little bit like a lime green gold. So I want to see how similar is it to the shade from Divine Droid. Now, the one from Divine Droid is more green, thank goodness. This is the gold from Midnight Sun, this is the gold from Nirvana. Midnight Sun, Divine Droid. Oh, did I say Nirvana? No Nirvana, there's no Nirvana, no one's in Nirvana here. Midnight Sun, Divine Droid, very different eyeshadows. Okay, let's swatch Most of Our Heat, that lava looking shade here, compared to the really sparkly, flaky topper shade here that I don't know the name of. Blood Moon 005 is the name of the shade, if anyone was interested. Completely different textures, of course, but I think in terms of like the color, they are relatively similar to each other. So this is the one from Divine Droid, this is the one from Midnight Sun. Midnight Sun, Divine Droid. I have to say the Divine Droid shade almost has like a little bit of like a goldenish reddish duochrome to it. It's a really beautiful and complex eyeshadow. It is a little bit more red because it has a bit more of an intense pigment base to it compared to the shade from Midnight Sun, which obviously as a topper shade has a bit more of like a sheer base. They would probably look absolutely glorious together. But if you're one of those like really nitpicky Pat McGrath nerds and you were worried that these are identical shades, I wouldn't necessarily say that they're identical. Okay, let's watch this shade here, the shade Galactic Conquest, the olive green compared to Wicked Envy from Midnight Sun. I feel like those two are going to be quite similar to each other. So here we have the Divine Droid shade, here we have the Midnight Sun. I think the new shade just is a little bit richer in tone and it is sparklier. So I would call this the Wicked Envy 2.0. It is just so beautiful. And this is the shade from Midnight Sun. I mean, they are, in the end of the day, very similar shades. The one from Midnight Sun is just a little bit more toned down. It doesn't have that much sparkle. It's just not as rich in tone as the one in the new quint. But they're both beautiful eyeshadows. If you love olive greens, you're probably going to love the one in the... I keep calling it Divine Droid. We're talking about Sith Seduction now. Excuse me, let's just blame it on the flu. Alright, I'm going to do two more swatches. I want to swatch the purple as well as the neutral shades from Midnight Sun next to, you know, neutral shades from this palette and the purple from this palette. Although I think the purples are just also visually, if you look at the pans of these eyeshadows, like completely different. Look, this is so much deeper and sparklier, whereas this is much more of like a bright, like lavender blue toned purple. It is beautiful. I've been using that purple from Midnight Sun like crazy this year. It has shot up Midnight Sun in one of my top 3 Mothership palettes for sure in this past year. With the previous few shades we had to split hairs to tell the difference. I think here the difference is quite clear. This is much more of like a grayish dark purple base, or like even a dark gray black base with a lot of like blue purpley sparkles, as you can tell from the swatch as well. And the shade from Midnight Sun is just a much more bright lavender kind of purple. And last but not least, I'm going to swatch the shade Bronze Eclipse here from Midnight Sun next to the two neutral shades from Sith Seduction, which I feel like are more cool toned compared to the shade in Midnight Sun. Midnight Sun has a bit more like warmth to it. So here we got, oh, I did that really stupid. I've got the shade from Midnight Sun on my middle finger, then my index and my ring finger are the two shades from the Sith Seduction palette. Apologies, that was really stupid. I'm going to try to swatch them on my hand a bit more in a sensical manner. So here we've got Midnight Sun, which I think has beautiful tones to it. It is a warmer, sort of like gold-leaning neutral brown. Then we have the shade that I put into my inner corners, which honestly is a beautiful and really interesting shade of, I don't know, pink champagne kind of shade. And last but not least, we have the taupe from Sith Seduction, which is also a very interesting tone. The one from Midnight Sun is just a bit more golden in tone. These are a bit more like neutral, cool toned. So pretty. I love that we get these like really interesting new neutral shades in this formula. So in conclusion, what do I think about these quints? I love both of them. My desires as both a Star Wars fan and a Pat McGrath fan have been deeply satisfied. With that said, I will quickly say, of course, due to the slightly more repetitive nature of the Sith Seduction quint in my personal collection, I will, I will enjoy it, but I will not cherish it as much as I will cherish the Divine Droid quint, just because this really brings something new to the Pat McGrath table, and I love it. I love these three shades here. These two in particular have my heart. They are amazing. I think my desire to own the golden one, the quint with C-3PO, has been quenched, and I'm going to skip on that, but I'm extremely happy with the two quints that I did purchase. You are going to see them featured again. We are going to do more looks with them. I don't know if I'm going to receive the pot. If I ever receive the pot, obviously I'm going to show it to you as well, but if I don't, will I really be that sad? I don't think so. I'll just wait for her to expand that line, because I think the Star Wars collection was more like an introduction, like a stepping stone for that new format of product to roll out next year. So I expect that pot collection to come back in the spring, maybe in a much more expanded range of colors. I could be wrong, but I think that's what's going to happen. Anyway, I'm going to go edit this video now, because I will have to be really quick with that. Today, as you may have it, is my last day in my 30s. I'm turning 40 tomorrow, so we're going for a little weekend away. I will not be here, but I will try my best to put up the video before we go away. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you as usual in my next video. Bye!